Hello, welcome to the Pint Patter podcast, where our patter is pish, but our pints aren't. To introduce ourselves, I'm Caden, and I'm joined by my co-host, Dino.
Hi, hello. Back for episode 6 now.
Yes.
I've got my drink ready.
Yeah, back in
There's
routine.
So the main topic for this episode, Heebie-Jeebies.
Yes. Particularly things that
So
give
just
you...
general things that give you the fear.
Or make you uncomfortable.
Doesn't necessarily have to be like phobias.
No. We're not quite going into the deep depths of our minds. The machinations of our imagination and what we fear most.
But just those wee things.
Just those wee things that just not quite pet peeves, but like they just if they just happen to you, you freak out in some minor way. So
you're like, oh no.
So for me, to begin with, my most common one is my hands, or particularly any part of my skin or epidermis, but mainly my hands getting dirty or getting covered in something sticky, and I can't find anywhere to wash them quickly, which is why I don't like them getting wet, especially when like pitching up a tent or just generally being at Belgium, getting my hands dirty, and I'm like, At least when you're like at a bar or you're in your own house, you can just quickly go to the bathroom or kitchen and just wash them. But it's just specifically, I just touch things. Like if my dog's like licking me and there's like a massive wet saliva stain on my hand, and I'm like, no.
Oh no.
No. It's not too bad
So that
now.
slightly bothers you.
I used to be worse with it, but now I'm like, Like whenever I'm watching a program or a movie and some guy's like covered in goo or like monster alien goo, like in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 at the beginning, just after Blue Sky finishes, and they're covered in Drax is covered in the goo, and I'm just like, oh no, fuck that. No. Just general ickiness for me.
First one I've got down actually is like armbar locks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm quite one for watching like boxing and UFC and all that fighting good stuff, you know. And there's times I'll catch the matches live, but there's a lot of times I'll just watch stuff on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? So you'll get like top 10 knockdowns or stuff like that, and top 10 fights, blah blah blah, all this stuff. And I mind I was watching recently as well. I was watching top 10 submissions.
Mm-hmm. Like jiu-jitsu.
And I think headlock's fine in terms of like watching and that. Yeah. Headlocks and that, but one of the ones that they do is like the armbar locks.
Yeah.
And watching them just, oh no. Makes me so uncomfortable seeing it. And like imagine being in it as well, being in one of those locks.
Yeah.
Because at any moment as well, if it goes like too far one direction, you know, you could break your arm easily.
Mm-hmm.
I think potentially just bone breaks as well can make you uneasy. Although not so much. There's some videos you see that are horrific, and you're like, ooh, oh no, you feel it, that empathy, and you're just like, oh no. But some of them aren't too bad. Some of them don't look as bad as
one of Russia's main martial arts is sambo, which is derived from judo from Japan, and they do a lot of like submission holds and stuff, and they're nasty. They're like fucked. Like I think sambo directly translates into like no weapon self-defense. But they're merciless with their stuff.
Aye, some submissions are just something else.
Whole
different kettle of fish.
Yeah. Another one of mine is, I think this could like be applicable for most things that get into your like face, but like having like long hair and it's in my face or eyes when I'm walking, or I can't like brush it out because I'm carrying something, does my nutting. But I think it in general for most people as well, just having anything in your eye, like an eyelash or it just irritates you so bad. Gives me the fear having like something stuck in my eye, let alone like having like one of those contactless lenses. Contactless? No. one of those lenses that you put in your eye
Mhm.
to help you see, rather than glasses. And apparently, if you're not careful with it, they can break or get lost in your eye. I'm just like,
Yeah.
ooh, no, no, no.
Don't like the thought
So
of that.
it's why I genuinely get haircuts. I'm not now, but like I genuinely get haircuts because I don't like getting my hair in my eyes. But I'm hoping to grow my hair long enough so I can tie it
Mhm.
back. That's the style I'm
Oh
currently
yeah,
going for.
yeah. That's with this whole COVID thing as well. My hair's getting a lot longer, and my hair was getting like the fringe was getting to the point where it's like down to my nose, so
Mhm.
it tickles like the bottom of my nose. I'm like,
Yeah, that's where mine's currently
get
at,
out of my face.
just below my nose.
Uh,
I think
so I've got mine going back.
we're just going for our Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire phase, where for some reason 90% of the cast has like shoulder length hair, and then by the next movie they've all like cut it off. Uh,
All gone.
all gone. It's a weird
Well,
phase.
my next one's involves hair actually,
Mm.
and it's like getting hair in food.
Mhm.
Like it's like it doesn't even matter if it's your own or someone else's. I think it like either just bugs me. I think.
Yeah.
Although thinking about it, it would be more grim if it's someone else's hair. You know, like
Yeah.
imagine you go to a restaurant or that, and there's just a long hair. Ugh. Nah, 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 nah. Can't do that. That just thinking about it as well, just oof, shivers down the spine. As well, I mind who is it? YouTuber did the hair cake video.
Oh, the iDubbbz.
Yeah, it was like iDubbbz. I think Max Mofo was in that, and a couple other YouTubers involved. And that video, if you haven't seen it, I do not advise watching it
No.
because it's, as the title says, a hair cake. So most of the cake includes hair, and it's so vile that, oh man, that just nah, can't do that.
No. Just can't. I think I
Well,
mentioned that in a prior episode actually.
mm,
Relatable moments, if you remember.
mm-hmm.
But it is genuinely like it is just something nobody wants to have ever happen because it happens the most at like
Yeah.
fast food places and there's hair and shit and you're just like no 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 no
Oof, just anything unwanted
anything unwanted.
in
Like
food or drinks.
I remember mentioning before, like the bloke that found a rat in his monster. It's like it's bad enough finding something slightly
Yeah,
unexpected in your food or beverages, but finding like a
absolutely.
whole rat, you're just like no
Yeah.
no, you'd never drink Monster again.
No. Yeah, you'd be completely put off.
Yeah.
It's the same with Capri Suns. There was a thing with Capri Suns, wasn't
Was
there?
there?
Yeah, I think there was like clumps of something in Capri Suns.
Mm,
If you search it up, there'll be something. But just anything
yeah.
like that, anything unwanted in your food.
Well, my.
Oh, like you see, sometimes with KFC,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they're obviously using chicken pieces. There's
Yeah.
sometimes that they'll have certain body parts of the chicken that go through
Mm-hmm.
into the food, and that freaks a lot of people out sometimes.
Yeah.
And like the odd bit that shouldn't be there.
Yeah. Well, my next one is a bit of an inside joke with our group of friends.
Ah,
A
yes.
bit of a. Most people eat in an average day really cheap food you can buy. Definitely one of those foods you'd eat
Mm-hmm.
during a world war, and it's beans.
Accessible.
Just beans in general. And you're laughing already. That's
Fucking
how much of an
beans.
inside joke it
Yeah.
is. You should be laughing at the word beans. Yet you are. Bloody
Um,
zoomers. But beans, just the smell of them, the look of them, the taste of them, the texture of them, just everything about them gives me the fear. Like no other thing.
baked beans for preciseness.
Just beans. I don't like anything bean shaped. Not even jelly beans.
Just any
Do you have like
beans.
a bean phobia maybe? But no, yeah,
Maybe
baked
look
beans, like
into that.
that's the one I've like ate the most, and I've never grown to like them. Like I know most
Mm-hmm.
British people like beans and toast and all that sort of stuff, beans and cheese and toast, and I'm like, no, no,
Mm.
no. But there's nothing much else to say about it. But I think it was worth mentioning because it does genuinely make me like boke.
Slightly uneasy.
Makes me uneasy just looking at them. Like there's funny photos like of the guy that made miniature toast and two beans, and it's like supposed to be like a fancy hors d'oeuvre like plate, and it's just funny.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's somehow crept its way into meme culture. The
yes,
depths of meme culture, though.
yes.
Not on the surface.
Not even on the surface, not even an inside joke anymore. Like the amount of times I'll just see a picture of just beans. That's it. That's the picture. Beans.
Oh my god.
But
It's ridiculous. There's another one I've got for Heebie-Jeebies, and that is the inability to move.
Yeah.
And it's not quite like claustrophobia. You know, I'm not too bad in terms of like close spaces. I think it's more the slight thought of just not being able to like move out of a space. Not so much a space, but like, you know, not being able to move, not being able to to adjust, stuff like that.
I definitely get you. So leads on to my next one as well.
So say you're like putting on a shirt or something, and your arm's stuck, you can't quite
don't
get
even
it
get me
through
started.
the hole, and you're just like wriggling. You're like,
because you have like some of these loose t-shirts that are like okay to put on, but there's some that are slightly tight. You're just tight enough to stop your arm from moving up, and you're just like, help.
But yeah, just something about that, like not being able to get yourself out of, not being able to move out of a situation.
I've had that when I was younger. Actually, I had like a not like a traumatic one, but like when I was going down the stairs, I tripped over and like I was small enough to be just enough to fit on a step. My whole body, I was young enough, but I managed to fall on top of my arms, and my head was touching one part of the wall, and my feet were touching just the other side. So I was stuck on one singular step, unable to move, and I had to shout my mom to come get me because I just couldn't move. Because when you're lying on your arms, I couldn't push myself up because I was just a weak little like 5-year-old or something. I'm just screaming because you're just like you cannot move yourself from the situation until somebody finds you. Of course, it's going to be like slightly terrifying, especially at a young age.
Aye. Can you imagine? Because like you obviously hear like wee stories and stuff like that. But can you imagine being buried alive, just like in the coffin? Oh.
I've had to look into that and how to get out of a coffin just to be on the safe side. Like a lot of the time. A lot of the time, they rely on you having like a lighter so you can see. But obviously, like you're not gonna be buried with a lighter unless you're very like specifically buried with it. So the plan is try your hardest to kick the bottom of the coffin and let dirt in slowly, and like start digging more and more. And you're supposed to bring your shirt above your head and tie the arms of the shirt, if they're long arm shirt, that is. And that's how you breathe while being suffocated, because there's no way dirt's going to get into your mouth or nose or that and stop you from breathing. So that's a way to do it.
Yeah. Interesting.
There's more to it that I've forgotten, but that's like good steps to remember, like tie your shirt around your head.
Aye. It'll be like, I think you'll be panicking though, in amongst all of that. So you'd have to like you'd have to really try and like calm yourself down.
That's the thing. If you're panicking, you'll be breathing more, and you need to make sure you don't breathe a lot because you have limited oxygen. Which brings me to my next topic of claustrophobia. I have slight claustrophobia, and it started from a day at a place where like a wee gym that had a bunch of like a ball pit, a bunch of castle, and one of the things that was there was like a large cylinder like thing that you can go into, like you get into it and you can like make it spin and that if you're in it, or you can get on top of it and make it like try and balance yourself. But one day I was inside of it and a bunch of kids just decided to grab it and push it upwards, and I'm inside completely trapped, my knees up to my chest and that, and I cannot move. I can't push it over, and the kids obviously don't understand. Obviously, I'm a kid as well. Until like a staff member came over to push it back over, but I was just like, "Nah, this is someone else. I don't like this."
Set you off
because I couldn't move, and it was such a small space.
Yeah.
It's why I don't like sleeping bags, because I feel like I can come a wolf, I can't open the zip, blah blah blah.
Mm.
I like my freedom. That's why I never like have my body fully underneath like a duvet. That it's not like such a fear of it that I'll like go crazy or like be
Yeah,
panicking when I'm
it's
in it,
not
but it's
not full on.
very uncomfortable.
Hmm.
And it's not like the thought of being buried alive or being buried in the sand, all those sort of things. Just like I'm like nada, no 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 no. Which is why maybe things like swimming's cool for me, because you're so free to move anywhere and you're not trapped by anything. Though some perspectives that might see yourself as you're covered by it, which is
Yeah.
more claustrophobic if anything. But I find it more comforting. That's my slight claustrophobia.
Aye. Well, I've only got one more listed,
Yeah.
um, and that is it's nylon like clothing. So I don't know what the particular material is. Yeah, it's I don't know if it could be like a mix of a couple of things, but like it's sort of nylon, sort of like some of the waterproof jackets you'll get.
It's like a plasticky silk.
Yeah, sort of like a plastic. There's like just certain types of material that you'll have in clothing, so you could have it in like
Yeah.
obviously in those sort of jackets or shorts or even or whatever. But the sound of it and the actual touch of it, there's something about it. I don't know why. It just makes me like uneasy. It sends a shiver down my spine. I'm just like, oof, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not all materials because there's some waterproof jackets that are made slightly different, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it depends, and obviously like the brands and whatnot.
I'm a bit like that with paper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind touching it, but there's like see the sound of it, and like
Hmm.
when I was younger, like really young, like stupid young, I like tried like chewing it, and like the sound it makes, and I've seen programs and other like movies and like where the person like crumples up the paper and eats it and swallows it, so they don't have evidence, like in Always Sunny, whenever they get rid of a
Yeah, yeah,
contract, and that just gives me the sort of. There's a lot of materials that are like that for me, to be honest.
yeah. It's just some materials just don't.
Don't rub well.
I know it just hits a spot, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It's a spot on your side. No,
like styrofoam. Styrofoam is one of them as well. Just the
oh
sound of it,
really?
it's like as you're pulling it apart. So it's pulsing. I'm like, oh
Uh,
no,
yeah.
stop.
A lot of people really don't like chalk and chalkboards and the
Yeah,
actual
like
writing.
and like forks against like plates.
Yeah. Oh, thinking about that now. Oh no. Oh no. But yeah, that's my last one really.
Wow.
It's like just a certain type of material.
Yeah, like, I think everybody has one of those.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more specific depending on you. But my next one is my last one as well, and it's just obscenely humid heat. So pretty much summer. But like
Orchard and Claw.
we've been yes 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 very hot, very close as well. My worst fears. What's next? There's gonna be a martini with beans in it.
Fuck's sake.
But I just summer in general, I've never been a fan of. I don't like heat to begin with. So when it's
Mm-hmm.
like humid heat and you're like all sweaty and just you're hitting the face with like this wet, and you're just like, pfft. Luck. We've been lucky this year though. Very lucky
Mm-hmm.
this year. I don't think there's been any like super humid days. And normally my room is
No.
like it is so hot and close because like my room's completely black. It is black fridge, black walls, black pillows, black
Mm-hmm.
duvet, black everything. So when I move like into another place or go into another room, I might just redecorate for everything to be white. Maybe when I was younger, I was like, yeah, black's cool. That's the cool kid's color. I want it to be black. Oh, goth. It's like worst choice of my fucking life.
Absolute goth.
Goths are fucking brave.
I know.
But obscenely, really hot things. This is why whenever I went swimming, I would stay away from steam rooms and saunas and all that because they're the epitome of like
Yeah.
humid, hot,
Aye.
and then one of the
Yeah.
rooms smells like mint, and I hate the smell of mint as well. So I'm like, get that to fuck.
Oh dear.
No, no. I prefer
Do you reckon
cold.
that would? Do you reckon that would put off like a lot of locations for like holidays and stuff?
That's been like honestly one of my places I would want to go to is simply because of the whole aspect of all inclusive. Like so, like drinks, whatever you go to the bar is free. That's all inclusive. Obviously you pay for it when you go and book the trip. Would be like Benidorm.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very hot place. My nan's been there. She likes it,
Yeah.
but I'm like, it's a bit fucking hot. That's a no go. But like the whole like all inclusive thing, and there's like pools of water and stuff, and you're like, oh, it's a bit more enticing.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, like I'm losing weight, so like the more weight I lose, the less hot I'll actually feel, and I can already feel that now.
Yeah.
That's why I still go around in shorts, but I'm more wearing jeans more now, really. Which I wouldn't
Aye.
used to because jeans I always thought would make you hotter and stuff. When I was younger, I used to always wear jumpers when I didn't feel heat as well, but now I sort of do when I put on more weight. But I think I'll go back to wearing jumpers again because
Oh yeah.
heat's not really getting to me anymore, which is a good thing. I still fucking hate it.
Aye.
But that wraps us up for our Heebie-Jeebies and moves us on to more general topics such as favourite fictional characters. Do you like to start us off, my man?
Yes. I will. I'll start us off with quite a popular one, I would say.
Mm.
Especially nowadays, since Breaking Bad's become
Ooh.
so popular and so loved. I've got Walter White down,
Mm.
and there's a lot. There's a lot about Walter White, you know. And I think what makes some really good characters as well is obviously character development, and
Yeah.
throughout the show, like from the very beginning, he is Walter White, this chemistry teacher, nice guy,
Yeah.
um, and then obviously he finds out that he's got this cancer,
Mm.
and from that moment, there's obviously a lot of development in terms of him slowly progressing more and more into the role of Heisenberg, right? But from that moment, that's when like it must have clicked in his head, and he was like, I need to do something
Yeah. Like
different, you know?
he's very like self-centered in the fact that he's proud and he needs to get like money for his family, even though what was it
Yeah.
Hank offered to pay. He had the money. He could very well pay
Mm-hmm.
for his stuff, but Walter was very like American in his thinking and very proud. He
Yeah,
needed to provide the money in
want
his
to do it
own way.
himself.
He's a really good character, actually. There's a lot of hate for him
There's
recently simply because he's this cis
yeah,
white male, sort of like SJW. Like I can see why people dislike him, and it's true. Like he's not a good person, but he's definitely
no,
very well written.
very well written, very well
Yes.
portrayed by a loved actor as well, Bryan Cranston.
Oh yeah.
So I think that helps in why Walt is so good for me as well,
Mhm.
because it's played by him.
Yeah.
And there's so many scenes as well that just like it makes you go wow, like Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I don't know who I
And
prefer out of Jesse and Waller because their development is insane.
mm-hmm,
Like you gotta like Jesse as well because he's not smart. He gets smarter and has better like common sense throughout the show, and then
yeah,
he obviously changes and you realize like he's not a bad person. He's just had very bad substance abuse. He's an addict and he works through that stuff.
yeah.
Just a really good show. There's a lot of good characters on that show.
Aye, he always had that motive of like doing it for his family. Everything he
Mm-hmm.
done was for his family, and that
Even
like
though it
he
ended,
would always have that as like an excuse almost for
yes,
why he would do more like
yeah.
worse and worse things, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because
I
he's
think it just ended up being like a power play for him eventually. Like
yeah
it's not like it didn't overpower his whole family sort of stuff that was going on, but he definitely enjoyed being like the dominant player in the scheme of things. That's why he
yeah
especially didn't like Gus.
yeah
Been meaning
very
to
good.
rewatch that actually. My
Yeah,
mom I was trying to get her to watch it. She was a bit She's a bit more of a Vampire Diaries person, and I'm like, oh, you'll like Breaking Bad, like come on. And she's like, oh, the drugs put me off. I'm like, what? And not the vampires that kiss each other and kill each other. And Prison Break, you watch Prison Break. Just watch the better written show, mum. Please.
Who's your
My
list?
My first one, I could have picked from so many of the universe, it being DC. I could have picked Batman. Batman's one of my all-time favorite superheroes simply because of his whole struggle, morality, and whether he should kill his villains or not. Because if he did, then he'd have no villains left to fight anyway, and he'd also be just as bad as the person that killed his parents, Joe Chill. It's also why he's not supposed to use weapons, because why would he use the weapon that killed his parents? Why would he use such things? But I do have a few others in DC that I would have liked to pick, like Nightwing. I really like Nightwing. Like he's the Batman that never was. Like he's skilled as Batman, but doesn't have what it takes to go through with the more brutal things that you can do. But I think my all-time favorite, like fictional character of all time, has got to belong to Joker. And he's not a character you see have development at all, but it's the idea that he portrays is what I love. Because it brings out the worst and the best of people. He is not a singular aspect. The Joker isn't a being that you can make in a movie or a TV show and go, that's the best Joker. Because the whole idea of the Joker is he's supposed to be evil incarnate, chaos inherited from any which being that caused him to be like that. That's why I like him. Like my especially favorite Joker is from, I would say, the Arkham games, mostly because Mark Hamill really pushed that agenda. But I think I like all the Jokers, bar a few. But I still appreciate those said Jokers just because they're supposed to portray an evil, chaotic bastard. So, the base idea of him was back in the 40s that he was just a guy who is chaotic, but he's more like, I'm a prankster, blah blah blah, who isn't exactly fearless. But that's the thing, as each Joker progresses, with the theory being, oh no, it's even confirmed now in the comics that there's been multiple Jokers. Been three main Jokers, one that was more prankster-like, one that was very more gangster-like, and another that was pretty much just fucked in the head, who willingly, not even willingly, got his face cut off, got reattached to him via belts and such, but never put it on properly. So you had it on upside down, so you could see his mouth through his eyes and his eyes for his mouth, sort of stuff. It eventually got stolen by the daughter of Joker, which is another weird character. But just the whole color scheme of him, his designs, just this idea he always smiles. He's never not smiling, unless in certain aspects of him where he's getting punched, but he quickly goes back to smiling. There's the idea that some Jokers, their biggest fear being forgotten. So that's why they're always such an attention seeker. They always have to be the most dastardly, so people remember him, sort of stuff. There's so many ways to interpret him.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it. There's no true Joker.
There's a lot.
That's the point of it, and that's why I like him so much. He's a flat character. He's not got any development unless the writer chooses so, but that development is never permanent.
Yeah.
One thing I also like about him is he never ever tells anybody his true past. So he'll make up some. So one of his past being he used to be a worker, he had a wife that was pregnant. They died in a house fire. So he ended up going to Ace Chemicals for a mobster. Ends up falling to a vat of chemicals because of Batman. And he becomes a Joker that way. But that's what he says. Who the hell says it's true? Because he says, I love making up stories about how people think I became to be. There's so much to talk about with him, even though he's not that complicated. He's just insane. But that's why he's my favourite
character.
Yeah, it's why my favourite fictional character of all time.
Number one for you.
Number one for me. Got a poster on my fucking wall, man. He's my idol. No, he's not.
He's not your idol.
Yeah, if he was my idol, I'd be pretty fucked in the head. That's the one thing though. Joker doesn't work with fascists or Nazis.
That's true.
That's a confirmed thing.
True.
He was working with Red Skull and he thought he was just a cosplayer, like he was a fake Nazi. But no, the minute he found out that he was a proper Nazi, he claimed, "Well, I'm a true American. Now I'm gonna gonna punch that off your face, or I'm gonna punch the red out your face, or something like that." Doesn't work with Nazis. His discrimination is for all.
Aye.
Aye, that's me done with my rant. How about you, Shell?
Uh,
Number one.
I think I've also got listed, and to be honest, I couldn't not include him. Personally, as well, I think I've got Captain Holt from the ever-growing popular show Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes.
And yeah, he's a much-loved character as well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Just the way he introduces himself as well as like this very serious, but also like deadpan character.
Yeah.
But his humor as well just works. It works really well, like with the rest of the cast.
It really does.
The way he connects with the rest of the characters in the show, it works really well, and he's also one who's got a bit of character development too.
Yeah.
Because over each season and over the episodes, he becomes more and more attached to his squad mates, and he becomes more and more loose
More
in how he acts.
nonsensical in moments.
Yeah.
Like
So like there's scenes where he's dancing and stuff like that, or
Velvet Thunder.
Velvet Thunder.
I think that's
he gives into Jake's whole game type thing.
Of what was it, nicknames or code names?
Yeah, code names.
And Jake is just so unbelievably happy. Like,
he's like,
Dad, my dad. So he's sort of like proud of his dad for like being proud of him.
He's
or
like, are
joining
you
in.
Ready, Wet Blanket? It's like, I'm not Wet Blanket anymore. Call me Velvet Thunder. Oh, the look in his face.
I think is even more funny. His moments is when whenever he gets into an outrage, when he's normally very like serious. When Rosa was asking, "Why don't you? I think you two should just bone." And he just like, "I am your superior officer," and it cuts to like, "Bone, bone," and then the next day he comes in and he's like, "Oh, Captain Holt, you look very good," and Rose is just like, "You boned, didn't you?" It's like, "Yep." And he just walks off. I think
it's
that
great.
is.
It's really great.
Yeah. It really is.
It's good as well because he also does keep the seriousness about him.
I think it's a good aspect to have in Brooklyn Nine-Nine as a bit more of a serious character. You have Terry and all, but he's a lot more aloof.
He's unique too, Captain Holt.
Yes.
He's quite unique. I think that's also why he's very much loved.
I think some of the more interesting episodes with him and in the show in general are the ones that tackle like his past and him trying to become a commissioner and all that sort of stuff, and how he was fighting for more black support in his line of work. It's very good.
Seen him back then in like the 70s with a stash.
An afro. Did he have an afro? Yeah, he had an afro, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did.
Who did he catch? What was the criminal he catch?
Disco...
Like Yo-Yo or Disco...
Disco Strangler, was it?
The Disco... Yes.
Yeah. Damn Disco Strangler. Yeah, that's the second one on my list.
Oh.
What else have you got?
I have got a book character. One that I've mentioned before as a series of books. Darren Shan, the saga Darren Shan. And I say saga Darren Shan because I could be talking about the Circuit of Freak saga, but this character is in two different sets of books, where I had grown more attached to him in his prequel series, and it's a character called Lorton Cripsley, which I've always thought was a bit of an awkward name. I never really liked that name, but
it sounds it.
I'm never sure how to pronounce it either, whether I'm pronouncing it right. But as a character, I think he's really well. He's the mentor character to the main character. He's a
Oh.
vampire, full on vampire. He's lived 400 odd years, I think, or 800. I don't think 800, but he's lived a few centuries. He's lived through a couple of wars, and he's very interesting as he speaks to Darren throughout the books, the first 12 books. But then we get his prequel books. We learn much more about him, how he used to work in a silkworm factory when he was younger. He had to go to work as an 8 or 9 year old, and he always talked about how he was treated like he had to grab silkworms out of vats of possibly boiling hot water if he's not careful, which he ends up burning himself a lot. His brother ends up getting killed there. He takes it out and ends up killing the guy who makes him work hard. And the whole aspect of him going through the decades and centuries as a vampire just really was sick, and it's cool because there's not I can't go into this about going more into the lore of it, but I just really like his aspect. He's a very cool and cunning character. He's a master combatant. He's very fast. He's a very special vampire, and he's a very tragic character as well. Very tragic. And I think one of the most interesting things about him is he's the cause of the person to write the book about Dracula in that universe. He talks to the person, the author, who writes about Dracula. And that person who writes Dracula obviously knows the vampires exist, but obviously people who read his books were just like, oh, this is a nice fictional story. And I just found it pretty funny that Lorton is the cause of this. And that's why I like Lorton. He's just a... Oh, if there was a proper movie series for these characters, or a proper TV series, it'd be good. There is a movie with him in it, and it's one of the worst casting choices I've ever seen in a movie ever. They have Steve C. Riley. Steve C. Riley, the guy that's in Step Brothers, right?
Yeah.
Aye.
Right.
That's like getting Steve C. Riley to play Thanos or Captain America. What are you thinking? What? That's such a bad choice. God.
Yeah.
But it's another movie that I despise. Maybe put on my worst movies for another day. But Lauren Graves, so yeah, it's a character I adore. It's probably my favorite novel character ever. Another one from yourself.
Yeah, I've got a very popular character from Star Wars. And yeah, I was thinking about who is my favorite actually from that whole saga, that whole series, and I think I've got to say Yoda. Yeah, there's something about Yoda that's just really cool and really interesting as well, because with the originals, the original trilogies, he's obviously sort of portrayed as this wise but also quite crazy. Not crazy. It's not crazy. Is not the right word, but a bit sort of mentally gone in a way. Do you know what I mean?
Senile, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he's very old, and he's a character that's been... I don't know how old he is, actually.
He's 800 years old, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
I'm not too versed in it.
Yeah, so he's obviously got that whole character portrayal in the originals. And he obviously teaches Luke and whatnot, but then you see him in the prequels, and the difference, the stark difference there. He's very much more of this really really competent Jedi master, and one of the top Jedi masters as well, the just all wise, all fucking all knowing,
Yeah, he's 900.
He's 900.
He's 900. He was 100 years shy of 1,000. He lived a long life though, so fucking...
Yeah, he did. But yeah, just the way his character is in the prequels as well,
Yeah.
because he was still quite a warrior as well,
Mm-hmm.
and definitely one of the strongest in terms of with the Force.
Yeah.
I think that's also what made him interesting, was his ability to, despite his size, right, and his physical inabilities, he was still unbelievable with the Force. And
Yeah.
watching him fight, I think he used the Force a lot of the time while he was like doing jumps and stuff like that, and all
Yeah.
sorts. Um,
I think his species is hinted or implied, like from what I know, is that they're generally very weak and are like easy for predators to hunt and stuff.
mhm.
But obviously, if you have like a metachlorian level, is that the name of it? Or basically just high force power
Yeah,
or
yeah.
output or ability, is you're just mental. You can do pretty much anything you want with a weak
Mhm.
body. Doesn't he also have a unique way of using the force as well?
Yeah, I think he does. I mean, even in the originals, like he sort of shows this strength with a lifting the iconic scene, lifting the ship out of the
Mm-hmm.
swamp water. So even like towards the end of his life, he was still just as strong,
Yeah,
almost. Yeah.
the special ability he has that Ray used as well, I think, or was it Kylo as well? And it's
Uh,
the life giving or being able to have absorb
yeah.
stuff, because I think Yoda's able to absorb shots from a gun and stuff like that, from a laser gun, and he's like life force, something to do with life force. Basically, I mind in the game, Obi-Wan always talks about, I wish I was able to do that as well. Maybe I'm
Yeah,
talking shite.
he's a very iconic
Yeah.
character anyway, but not just because of what he's capable of. Even his speech.
Yeah, like
His speech is very interesting and iconic.
no wonder he's popular. He's the Cookie Monster.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Do you imagine if he just
I'm
rocked
not
up
gonna
to?
attempt to do the voice.
Do you imagine he just rocked up to Luke and went Cookie, and
Oh
Luke is
no.
just like, who the fuck?
Excuse me, what?
Excuse me, no, I don't. What is a cookie? I'm alien man.
Oh man.
This is so very long, long ago. There's no cookies. Um, he's very iconic. Oh, he's very iconic. Like probably the most iconic aside from the Skywalkers.
Yeah. Aside from them and yeah, just that's it.
Yeah.
Who have you got?
I've
Who's your
got.
next one?
It's a character I was introduced to from the Telltale games, but I went to read the comics for them. So like, most Telltale games are based on at least an already existing IP, and
Mm-hmm.
the Wolf Among Us character Bigby Wolf, or also known from the comics, Fable, as he's also Bigby Wolf. He's the sheriff of the specific place he lives in, and
All right.
he's like a very Wolverine-esque character, and I really enjoy that aspect of him. But he's also the sheriff in a way that, much like a detective is. He has immensely good investigation skills and the sort. And I like the whole folklore thing of the story he's in. Like, he's the big bad wolf. He's the wolf that hunted the three pigs. He's the wolf that was with Red Riding Hood, sort of stuff. And you learn more tidbits of lore through him. Is that he met Snow White. He met a few other people. He was known as this big bad wolf. I already said, but he was the bad
Mm-hmm.
guy. But he grew to be good, and he's the main character of said series. He's the sheriff. He's the one who makes the law, who enforces the law, and you can really enjoy like his wee little relationship he develops with Snow White and all that. And like he's definitely like based somewhat on Wolverine. He's definitely got that feel for him, but he's very much more smarter, which leads to him being underestimated a lot of the time. Um, I really like him as well. Obviously, I like him a lot more as well, just knowing that he's a wolf, being like all things wolf. He is lycanthropy. He can revert back into a wolf. He can become wolf-like and enhance his strength and all that sort of stuff. But I just generally like him and the media he belongs to. That's me for Rigby Wolf.
Alright. That's pretty cool. I have played some of the Telltale games, but not particularly that one. It's one that I've had been thinking of playing, but never got around to. But yeah, my next one is Thor, actually. Obviously a popular Marvel character.
Yes.
And obviously taken from just the Norse mythology. So I really like the premise of the character.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of fucking comic stuff that I've read.
Yeah.
There's not too much. There's a lot of stuff out there too.
I've not really read Thor stuff. I've not read a lot of Marvel stuff, but the stuff I have read, not really much of Thor. He's really interesting though, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I do like the whole idea of his character and the way he's portrayed by Chris Hemsworth in the MCU just now. I think is great. Although a lot of people will talk shit about the first two Thor films.
Yeah.
And I mind going back to watch the first Thor film, and seeing him with like seeing him like the way he's dressed in that film in comparison to like the more modern ones.
Yeah.
It's funny, but I still like the character. I still really like the character, and I think he's done quite well.
I really liked when Tom Holland played him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like when he's like, "I am Thor, God of Thunder," and he's holding the mallet. He's clearly the best Thor out there. Clearly. But in all seriousness, no, Chris Hemsworth definitely pulled that off well, and I'm glad he's back to his long-haired look. It was obviously refreshing seeing him in Ragnarok with short hair, but obviously long hair is the Thor look.
Yeah.
It's also
long.
It was also weird seeing in the Infinity War or just Infinity War, Captain America with like long, like black brown hair and a big beard and that. Funny enough, of which Thor comments on, like, "Oh, I like the beard. See you with the beard look, yeah, something like that."
Yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely really good choice. I don't know who else could like even replace him apart from was it Matt Damon or somebody in Thor Ragnarok near the start had like it was one of the plays and it had like Matt Damon in it with somebody else.
Oh yeah.
It was playing Loki and Thor.
I mind that. Can't mind.
I know a certain somebody will correct me after they listen to this podcast. Again, a lot of this is ad libbed and from memory. Much like we would do in a pub, not like we're gonna sit in a pub and like have notes. I was like, all right, this is what I'm saying. Matt Damon played this character, and did you know he was born in 19? Nah, it's all ad libbed.
Statistics.
It's like you see somebody in the corner, like they're in a courtroom, with one of those typewriters, like finging down what they're saying.
Oh man,
that's funny.
Hi, this is Pint.
It's all ad libbed. It's the whole premise of it, as if we're in a pub because we can't be right now. Well, we could be, but we'd rather not. I'd rather not.
Gotta be safe, innit?
Gotta be safe.
But I'm trying to search it up now. I think it was Matt Damon who played as Loki.
Was
it Loki? Yeah. we'll move on anyway.
Yeah. Let's move
Who's your
on.
who's
I
your next?
I'll mention the Rick Grimes from Robert Kirkman's The Walking Dead.
Ah,
Not
yes.
not not Abraham, not Abraham Lincoln. I can't remember the guy's name that plays him in the
Abraham
show.
Lincoln.
It's something. It's either Lincoln or Abraham. It's one of the two. But
Uh,
that
oh,
guy's portrayal in the show, like I don't mind it. It's not the best, but it's doable. I know something my brother once said that he's not nearly intimidating enough as he's trying to come off as, and I'm like, I suppose I can see it. But in the comics, you definitely get that like feel of like if you were to meet this man in like an actual conversation in an apocalypse, you would be scared of the
mhm.
way he speaks and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And obviously, Rick starts off as a cop that's shot, wakes up in a hospital. A few days, maybe weeks during the apocalypse. Obviously, his
Mhm.
family thinks he's dead, and there's a whole like character development he goes through of like becoming the leader of the group, trying it becomes the alpha. Like he makes a lot of the
Yeah.
decisions. He tries to be diplomatic a lot of the time, but there's a point where he breaks, and it's just like we gotta kill who we gotta kill, and then he reverts again, and it's just a whole cycle he goes through. And a lot of things
Yeah.
I dislike that the show misses out is his whole conflict he has about his son. And like, there's a
Mm.
point where it's during when he first meets Abraham, and Abraham's also quite different because Abraham is a raging man in the show as well, like with enough reason to.
He was a military man, wasn't
He
he?
was a military man, very militaristic. But in the comics, he's portrayed as he's raging whenever he isn't the leader. He gets super angry. He gets so angry that he says to somebody's like, if this Rick Band doesn't stop being so fucking bossy, I'm gonna fucking beat a skull in, sort of like attitude.
Yeah.
Obviously, that changes as it goes on, and Abraham's a much more likable character. One of the best characters, I would say. But Rick
Mhm.
goes for this whole conflict with Abraham on their way to go rescue Carl, who is suggested that he's going to be raped by these like bandits, which is already a horrible enough concept. And with what Rick's went through, the minute he finds out that his son is possibly going to be raped or worse, he just
Yeah.
loses the plot and just kills these guys as brutally as possible. But he then thinks about what his son has done in the past. Like he finds out his son has killed one of the other kids because uh, of what they did. This kid being
Yeah.
uh,
Mind that.
turning another child into a walker, believing that's what all people should be, and nobody knows what to do with this like child who is not clearly sane or right mind. They can't leave her unattended. Blah blah blah. Or
Yeah.
him. I think it was him. I think in the comics it was two twins, and the brother obviously killed his other brother. His other brother. His
Yes.
twin. His other twin. Why am I saying other? His twin. His other twin. He has two sets of twins. But
Mm.
he kills him. So Carl takes it upon himself to bear the responsibility. He's like 10 or 12 at this time. He shouldn't be dealing with this stuff. Yet he finds himself to be like his da and makes the choice of himself and kills this not right of mind child.
Mhm.
And Rick finds this out and he has major conflicts. Like, is he even my son anymore?
Yeah.
I can't look at him anymore and think like it's such an interesting concept that
He's a Grimes, though.
it's the Grimes.
It's a Grimes.
And that's why I like him. Carl was going to make my list here, but I think Rick is just the better written character. Like you like Carl because you're like, oh, he's a badass for his age, but you got to think Rick's such a mad lad for his like leadership skills, his speeches. He's
Yeah.
famous for his speeches. Like he's the Optimus Prime of the Walking Dead universe. But obviously he gets past this whole like my son. Like I don't know how to deal with him. Like he's not even human. I don't even see him as my son. I don't care. But that changes when Carl learns his mistakes and he bears responsibility for killing this child, and they get closer. And I won't delve too much deeper into what happens in like the latter arcs of the series, but
Yeah.
I just
It's very
think
good.
his development with the time skip that happens, like his looks and his personality
Mhm.
even changes a bit. He just grows to be more diplomatic with time, and that's what I like
Yeah.
about him. Is like civilization isn't about just killing folk and being alpha, but you need to learn to like cooperate and make do and make diplomatic like situations happen. Democracy needs to be a thing. he accepts that if you don't want me to be your leader, that's fine. He's not quite like Abraham in that aspect. It's like you need to tell me you want me to be your leader, or I can't just be it for you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's why I like Rick Grimes a lot. He's on that. Really like his character.
And that's the comics done as well, fully
Yeah,
finished.
they're doing
Which
a spin-off though of Negan.
Yeah, Rick's a very good character. I think I prefer his comic version to the show version. Although, and by the way, it is Andrew Lincoln. That's his name.
Andrew Lincoln.
although
Similar.
Andrew Lincoln does a fantastic job to create this portrayal of Rick Grimes, and I think for a lot of people who haven't read the comics and got into the show first with the show, as I did,
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, Rick is just this very popular,
meme-worthy. His
character. I'm meme-worthy.
very meme-worthy. Coral, your mom.
Yeah, he's quite a family man as well, and I think that's
definitely.
with the way certain story does, because nobody's really safe in The Walking Dead.
So like you've
the
got
way things happen with his family, it hits him.
because obviously the thing with Laurie happens in both the show and comics roughly around the same time, but in different ways.
Yeah,
and he ends up in both the TV show and the comic. They end up in different relationships. It's funny, and in the comics, Andrea, which in the show she's an absolute cunt. Nobody likes her. They've just fucked her up beyond belief. Like, but in the comics, she's a fan favorite. She was loved. Like she looked cool. She was a badass. She was great with a fucking sniper. Like, bro, she's the best woman for Rick. And they fucked up in the show.
Yep.
Well, another one from yourself.
Yes. So my last two that I have are both from games, actually. I'm going to mention Handsome Jack, who was in both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel.
Yes.
And obviously it came out as the Handsome Collection for next gen. Well, I say next gen, it's very old now, PS4, Xbox One. But Handsome Jack is such a both lovable and hateable character.
Yeah.
The way he is just as a villain throughout the whole game, is fantastic. Like, not only did the voice actor do such a like spot on job with the way he puts across his lines,
Yeah.
Like when we're introduced to this character from the start of Borderlands 2, he's very much this like jokey, taking the piss kind of guy, but he's also still a villain, and he'll still kill you. Yeah. And literally the opening scene of Borderlands 2 is Handsome Jack, who he's the head of Hyperion, right? So he owns this, and you'll obviously find out about how he got to that position, blah blah blah. But the opening sequence is him being like, I'm looking to hire vault hunters. Some vault hunters, and so these 4 vault hunters jump on this train, and it turns out that he rigged the train to be a bomb in order to kill the vault hunters, because Jack himself wants all of the vault's loot for himself. He wants the glory. He wants the power. He's very power hungry. But the way he develops as well through the story, because as I mentioned, his humor it's incredible. It really gets you as well.
I feel like it's like Peter Parker if he was a villain. Very like like a Deadpool humor, but like he clearly uses humor as a vice to like stop his mentally unstable or nervousness from like appearing.
Yeah, and he literally owns a pony made entirely out of diamonds, and he called it Butt Stallion. Yeah, just all the scenes in him is just incredible. But there's a point in it, and it's a bit of a spoiler. But so if you don't want to know, then obviously don't listen to us.
You can't really help that if you're driving and you're listening.
Yeah, I suppose. But I'll say it. In Borderlands 2, there's a point in it where he's got this sort of humorous, like, easy go, but still, I'll kill you type personality. And then his daughter, who is what's the daughter's name again? Angel, that's the one. And he's very I say close, but he's using her. So anyway, in the story, there comes a point in which Angel dies, and from that point on, Handsome Jack completely cuts the humor out of his personality. So he's like, no, this is some serious shit now. I'm going to fucking kill you. And that like sharp difference as well. So from that point on, all the quotes from him and everything is just it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I highly recommend playing the game. Specifically for him, even.
Yeah. Well, as my comrade in arms here has suggested, I forgot about this character, and it's in correlation to the game he just mentioned, is Krieg. And he is a DLC character from Borderlands 2, the same game, that spawned your favourite character. And his whole premise is that he was a test subject that escaped, but directly because of being a test subject, his mentality was corrupted, and he's got this split personality, of which is mainly dominated by a very insane person who shouts things like, "My shiny meat bicycle," and sort of stuff like that, or
stuff like that. Yeah,
"I'm going to grind you into dirt poo," or something. Just something stupid like that. That's like ad-libbed, but it's definitely something he would say, or like meat grinder.
Yeah.
But you every so often for his lore, you'll hear in his head there's a sane person, the original mind, and it's saying, "Please don't say this," or "Please stop, don't shout something like this," and he'll like then the psycho part of him will directly say that thing, and I like him a lot because like he's just a very tragic character. I like his design a lot. He's like very lanky, long torso, much like myself. Got long torso. His main weapon's a big, like it's a very psycho weapon. He's a psycho, very much, and he wields a stick which has a saw on it, which he swings about and he can throw and stuff. And he's very hard to use in game, which very like harmed his like character in itself for me. But as like a personality front and lore and stuff, and like he likes this siren called not Lilith,
Maya.
but the Maya. That's it. And he doesn't know how to express his love for her because all the Psycho can say is stuff like, "You look like many painted walls in a street," sort of like stupid things. He can't say like, "Oh, I like you."
He can't
like,
say what he's at. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the intro video actually in which they meet, and obviously in his head he's like, "You need to tell her that there's someone behind her," and then he's like, "I'm going to rip your skull in two."
And then she looks behind her and she still ends up. No, he throws his bone saw thing.
Yeah. So he's like trying to battle this
a bunch of bandits or psychos, and she at first thinks that he's also just a psycho and attacks him, but realizes after he saves her with the throwing of his projectile at the psycho that he's actually friendly. And they get on. I really like that. He's a really cool character. He's my favourite character, at least from Borderlands.
Yeah.
It's a shame he doesn't get more content, but saying that, the latest DLC, and I think the last DLC, DLC 4 of Borderlands 3, is going to be all about him. And hopefully the inner machinations of his mind. The inner machinations of my mind. But he's a very enjoyable character. Maybe it's just like what I like about a lot of characters in general, like Cletus Cassidy and all that sort of things, is like they're mentally unstable. They're very enjoyable. See, like, when we're going through different things. Like, there's a lot of characters I can rattle off that are like that, like Legion. He's an X-Men character, which I think he's Xavier's son, and he has the ability of multiple, if not millions of or thousands of powers of like dead people or split personalities in his head. He's like omnipotent, but he can't choose his powers at the time due to his mentality. Like, he's got the worst case of split personality, and whoever is like taking over him at that point will have that said power. It's very enjoyable. But it's not one of my favorite characters. Again, like that's just a stereotype of why I like characters like Krieg or Joker, stuff like that. That finishes on Krieg and leads me on to asking you for your next one.
Yes. I was actually thinking of putting Krieg down, but I think Handsome Jack for me is just it comes out on top. So I didn't want to include too many characters from like the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, my last one, as I said, also another game character, and it is Edward Richtofen.
Oh yes.
From the
Which
Call of Duty
version?
Zombies. that's what makes him interesting.
Premise?
The premise version, or he's a very interesting character because especially with the way that they've done the whole story.
Yes.
They've tried to develop the Call of Duty Zombie, and he's been in since I think they were introduced in. Was it Shinonuma?
No, it was Shinonuma. You're right.
Is it Shinonuma, or was it Dries?
It might have been Dries. I know the remakes have them in like Verrückt and that, but I believe Verrückt had the military team going there.
Yeah. Well, let's just say Dries then. And I mean, Dries is like the starting point of his journey, really, because Edward Richtofen is this he's this German scientist, and the idea of like how the zombies were created essentially was that both him and another scientist, Maxis, they were working on a device to bring the dead back alive and using them as soldiers in the war. And so they're part of this team, this secret project team called Group 935.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is to get this going, right? To do tests. And throughout Dries, there's tons of like wee Easter eggs, of course, like with like wee radio excerpts and stuff. And it like tells a story of like how it happened and stuff like that, and all the testing. And he eventually killed Maxis because he's also a very power hungry character.
When did he kill Maxis again?
He killed Maxis in the testings, I think it was.
Because he's still alive and buried.
Is he?
Yeah, because moon happens, and you hear through the logs that Maxis meets up at the pyramid and lets Samantha go, and he tells Samantha, "Kill them all."
Well, that'll be his.
Because that's how Buried happens, mind. That's why the Ray Gun Mark II is there and Vulture Raid and all that.
It won't be his live self. It'll be his.
No, it's live self. It's not his soul. He doesn't die in testing. Because he sends Samantha gets sent to the moon. That's how she's in the pyramids, because she never dies.
Mm-hmm.
And Max is sent to Resolution 1915 or 1815.
Yeah, one of those.
And he builds all the stuff there, and he finds out about the mansion and the ghosts. But he's alive. He doesn't die until Moon, in which he's shot in the head after he tells Samantha to kill them all.
Ah. But yeah, either way, that's what's interesting as well, because there's this whole story of him being quite crazy. Like Rick Doffin is quite a crazy character, especially
it's only
his
after
original.
he teleports for the first time. Causes him to have schizophrenia.
Yeah. So there's a lot of interesting quotes and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But the thing, what they introduced.
Diary.
Schweinhorn.
Number 15. The Japanese man.
Yeah. There's tons of different. There's tons of different timelines.
Oh my god.
As well, and in those different timelines, he is. He's slightly different. All the characters are different in these timelines.
I think with the ones we get acquainted with in World at War, they're all slightly manic and crazy and outlandish. Like you got Nikolai, who's always talks about his 9 wives and vodka. You've got Takai, Takio, who talks about, I have my honor. I don't cooperate with foreigners. Sort of like stuff. And you got Tank Dempsey, he swears like a bull in a china shop. That's a very inaccurate idiom, but okay. But he swears a lot. He's like, fucking hell, Rick Toffin! Where the fuck did you say that? He's like very angry. And then you got Rick Toffin, who's schizophrenic, and he caused them to all be like this because of his, because of all the tests he'd done on them. Like originally, before Tank Dempsey, there was a Mexican that he was testing on. And then obviously with Origins comes the more sane and more like serious versions of themselves, especially Rick Toffin.
Yeah, there's a lot of development in the multiple different Rick Doffins that appear, you know.
There's like 4 of them, isn't there? Because you got like the Knight Templars version.
There's
so many.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, that's my last one. That's my last on my list for fictional characters.
I didn't think of Call of Duty Zombies, to be honest. Like, that's a really good choice. If anything, that might have been in my list if I didn't think about it sooner or later. It's a really good character. But my last one is it's a fairly simple one. Why I like him? It's Wolverine or Logan, or there's another name for him as well. I can't find it. But very simple character. He's described as being a Wolverine, hence his code name. He has these bone claws which become adamantium, or maybe vibranium if they don't introduce adamantium into MCU. But I really like him. James Howlett, or Hewlett, that's his name. James Hewlett. It's a cool name. But he was born a good 100 or so years prior to the current or modern story. He's very old. I like that aspect of him. He's grown through wars with his. I'm not too sure if he did it with Sabretooth, because in X-Men Origins he did it with Sabretooth, like his brother in arms, his stepbrother. But in the comics, he grew up. I think he might have lost his memory as well due to the adamantium being not absorbed. What's the word for it? Being like melted onto his like skeletal frame, mended or something. But he gets an adamantium skeleton, which is pretty much indestructible. It's a cool thing. He regenerates like Deadpool, sort of where Deadpool gets his like regeneration from. But he's a generally entertaining character to be with, because he's grown to just see killing as natural. Pain doesn't really affect him anymore. He's very alpha-like. I'm not really one for this sort of character, but I think there's something about Wolverine. Like, he's just a very like tragic character. Like, you just like, especially in Logan, he's
Mm.
The movie Logan's a phenomenal film. But I just like his character and all that. Especially Old Man Logan in the comics. Old Man Logan in the comics is really good as well because he fights the likes of Hulk, an old Hulk, which is
Yeah.
very gross. Like, Hulk in that story had an incestuous relationship with She-Hulk, and they had like these hillbilly children, which he all killed, bar a baby
Oh
which he starts
Lord.
looking after. He fights alongside a blind Hawkeye. He fights a Red Skull who dons a Captain America suit and has Iron Man gear and all that. It's a really good story. Old Man Logan's just more understanding because he's just fed up of shit. I think he has slowed down healing and that. But he's just a he's just a really rough Canadian who's got anger problems. He was debuted fighting against Hulk actually. He was supposed to be just a side character, but he ended up being one of the most popular X-Men. I don't, yeah, maybe even the most popular. Now that I think about it. But that
Gotta give a round of applause as well to Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman, his only fault for being too tall for the role. Pretty sure he's like 5'11" or 6 foot. Or else, like, I'm pretty sure Logan's supposed to be 5'3" or 4.
Oh really?
He's very tiny.
Oh damn.
He should be called the honey badger. Those things are mental.
Oh aye. Aye.
Genuinely mental. Like, one of the things about honey badgers is their neck is very durable but also loose. So if lions are like things that can fight with and don't die to because their skin is so impenetrable. Apparently a bullet could not penetrate the honey badger's skin. And what they'll do is a honey badger, if bitten on the nape of its neck by a lion, it will turn around because its neck skin is so loose and will attempt to claw or bite the balls or genitalia off the lion. So
Ridiculous.
it is ridiculous how tough they are. And it's why I think Wolverine should be called a honey badger instead, because, adamantium, durable, blah blah blah. Obviously, like, Wolverine's main weakness being Magneto. If he was still boned, he wouldn't be as tough, but he wouldn't have that, like, weakness against Magneto. Theoretically, he should be protected from mind control from Xavier because his skeleton is sort of like shielded like Magneto's dome is. But alas, like, I didn't expect to have Wolverine on my other favorite fictional characters. Like, obviously, I could have like Deadpool on it as well, but like, I think Wolverine is overall the more interesting character.
It's hard to pick, isn't it? Because there's so many options as well. And there's so many that are not being mentioned.
Like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even look at Wolverine and I think a superhero. I just think he's a person who goes away as, like, he's a good person, but he doesn't go out of his way. But I think that ends us on fictional characters, and we can move on to the topic of, does brand difference matter? Of which we'll talk about it, provide some examples, whether it does matter or not to us. But I'll talk a bit about it and say I think brand difference does matter in certain cases, and it depends on the individual as well. So for me, like, brand difference, do clothes matter to me? Brands and all that? No, they don't matter to me. To some they might. Like, if a shoe just fits, that's all I care about. It's like, I don't care if they're Nike or Pumas or that, or same with clothes. Like, as long as they're comfortable on me and they're semi-decent looking, I'm fine. But then, for an example, mine of where I think brand difference does matter for me is cola. Like, I don't like Coca-Cola. I don't like any sort of cola outside of, like, Pepsi Max. Like, even just normal Pepsi. It's just a specific brand of Pepsi. Like, I like Dr. Pepper, which you can class as a cola, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I like Dr. Pepper, but not like
cola
an awful lot. But I think Pepsi Max is just like something that I think makes a massive difference to other cola brands. And
You're not a fan of many other cola brands? No.
Like, there's very few times where I'll like a cola brand unless I'm in a pub and they've got something on draft and they give you in a pint glass with ice. That's good. But obviously, to make do with it, and it's nice at the time. I'd much rather a Pepsi Max and said glass on draft.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of my examples won't have like ones where I'm like, no, it doesn't matter with this, or no, it doesn't matter with this.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
might have some, and I'll let you like say some if you want.
Yeah. So you're on about Pepsi and whatnot, and I was going to talk about it as well. Just like a lot of stuff that you can get in supermarkets and shops. So, so juice, in particular, right?
Mm-hmm.
It depends. It does depend because for a lot of these, yeah, it does make a difference in terms of your taste and what you like.
Yeah.
But stuff with juice, because you get, for example, cola. As we're saying, right? I very much think the Pepsi Max and full sugar Coke, Coca-Cola, is like the best stuff, right? And when it comes to like the Tesco's off-brand stuff or the Tesco's own cola,
Yeah.
it's not quite as good. It's obviously cheaper, and it's there as an offering, as an alternative.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a big difference in taste with those ones, and some of them are worse than others. If it's got no sugar, some of them are just awful. Like, oh my god!
I used to drink
Like Tesco
Fanta,
zero sugar.
and
Yeah.
I like Fanta a lot. Like even in the past when I had like Fanta Zero, because I don't like things with sugar. But I did have like normal Fantas and Fanta Zeros. But now Fanta that are no sugar in it is just ass. So I don't know how it's
Yeah.
gonna taste with sugar as well. I feel like it's just changed so much, which is why I like switched to like Tango, and I drink Tango sugar free now. Which there's something I could mention as being I prefer Tango to like other stuff, but honestly I could also go with I don't mind like Tesco brand like sugar free orange fizzy juice either.
Yeah.
But like I slightly prefer Tango because it's a bit more citrusy.
Aye.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. There's the odd ones that I might pick up. I think juice in particular, I'm more of like I'm gonna get the top brand stuff. You know, I'm gonna get the ones that.
So that implies, which will help me onto my next
I
question,
know
which
are
implies
tasty.
that food you don't really have a great opinion on then? If juices.
It depends. It depends. So with crisps, you've obviously got all the top stuff. So you got your classic Walkers, your Doritos. You know, you've got your Skips, Watsits, yeah, all those ones, and they're great. And I think most of the time I would just tend to grab them anyway, if I'm in the mood for them. But that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of off-brand stuff, and like their own the shop's own versions, which are still good. They're still really good.
They're surprisingly
Like some
good.
of the ready salted ones or cheese and onion ones.
They're not like see some of the like brand ones that they do, especially the ready salted ones. If you know those sort of like rare crisps you get in a pack that are like sort of like not see-through but like they're like very like crispy, like very like soft crispy. Like the own brand ones, sometimes I think Tesco ones that ready salted, almost every single crisp in that bag that you would take out would be exactly like that, and that's like ideal for me. Obviously, I don't touch the stuff now, but in the past, my like go-to like for like cheese and onion, like flavored crisps, cheese and onion would be Golden Wonder. Fuck all other like cheese and onion crisps like Walkers and all that.
Yeah.
But there's like examples like Snack Rights, cheese and onion. I don't mind them, but I think my all-time favorite for flavor is Golden Wonder. It's got like this like packs a punch with its cheese and onion.
Yeah.
But for ready salted, I could just eat any packet as long as it's salted. It's not really a flavor; it's just like texture sort of thing. Walker's is okay. Like the most crispy one is nice. Which is why I had a problem with like the sea salted ones, like the big Mackie bags. They're a bit more
Yeah,
like
yeah.
harder. I didn't mind them. I think I just didn't mind them in the past because they're like big bags and you could just tear through them. Oh,
Aye.
but that was like my path for those sort of like. Same with foods in general. Like if you like fried chicken, my ma
Mm-hmm.
claims that fried chicken's the same no matter where you get it from. And I'm like, fucking is it fuck?
There's a whole different world out there when you go to like some of the top restaurants and that,
Yeah,
and they've got like ridiculous prices. And obviously, if for some of it, you might be thinking, nah, there's no way it's going to be that good. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
But in some cases, it can be.
Because
It really depends.
I used to get a thing called a zinger snacker, which is literally just two very spicy fillets with cheese in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And I would normally get like the mayo and lettuce off because I didn't like their mayo. I like lettuce now. I wasn't a fan of it before because I don't know why. I like it now. But I got that stuff taken off. So it was just like a plain cheese and Singer snacker. And I would eat that. Quite expensive, a lot of calories. But it tasted nice. But now, I get these spicy fillets from Farm Foods, and I have that sometimes in a roll with cheese.
Mm-hmm.
And fucking hell, it's way better, more moist, and all that sort of stuff. Like, bro, how did I ever like Zinger Snackers? Then hot wings and all that stuff. It's always KFC for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whenever I get a
Yeah.
hot wing from like Farm Foods or other places, I'm like, no, it's not as good. So there's definitely like some brand differences to certain things matter. Fuck McDonald's, so I hate McDonald's. Fucking
Uh,
controversial opinion, but I'll stand by it.
I well, I was also going to mention about the crisps, right?
Mhm.
So obviously you've got and some of them are quite noticeably different. Like
Yeah.
some of them are really salty and whatnot. But do you remember the small scandal? I say small scandal. This is the scandal with Aldi. I think it was. I think it was also with Lidl,
Mhm.
and it was like it was the whole thing that they have their own versions of Watsits and all those types,
Oh, I
right?
saw that today. Actually,
Yeah,
literally today. I looked at the bag and it was
literally
like
today.
almost identical to Watsits.
Same
Like
factory,
same,
same
the same
factory, just
factory, just
different
different branding.
packaging. Yeah,
That's weird because Watsits are under the
we're
same
talking.
as Walkers, aren't they? They're the same brand Watsits. I think they produce
Yeah,
their
it's
Walkers.
one of the sub brands, let's say.
Yeah.
But I mind that, which is funny enough, and yeah, it's like literally the same thing, but it's just different packaging, and because it's different packaging, because it doesn't come under the well known, they price it differently,
Yeah, I think it's like
and that's what you got to be
87,
careful with.
like 87 or 90p for like a 6 pack, or else it's like a pound somewhere in like Morrison's or Asda.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's why I was gonna also move into clothing, because clothing can also have that in terms of like you can have clothes that are essentially the exact same type of material, right? They look pretty much identical, but because one t-shirt has like a Lacoste brand
Oh my god,
like logo on it compared to like just no logo, the difference in price is massive in some
because
cases.
like it's mad because they're not even made that better. It's like it's not even like the cases where you get like gold sprinkled on your ice cream and that's really expensive. It's literally just because a certain brand is on the fucking jumper. You can
Yeah,
literally get
you're paying for
somebody.
the brand in a
You
lot of
can
cases.
literally get the same jumper, and if you're good at sewing or get to some like printing place that prints stuff on shirts and that to print that, and boom, you've got it. It might be a bit illegal, I think. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure, like all the whole copyright and stuff there. Because have you heard these things where if you type on Twitter or on a social media, it's like, I really wish this was on a T-shirt, and it's just a picture of
Yeah.
something that some like bot will track that tweet, find the image it's replying to, take that image and print it on a shirt and sell it. And I think the
Wow.
funniest thing to do with that is somebody purposely did that to make a tweet saying, "I wish this was a T-shirt," and above it was literally like a porn picture or something like saying, "People who
They're
do
trying
this
to
is really
bait the
dumb."
bot.
So they're baiting the bot, and it's like
Glorious.
it's amazing.
It's glorious. Aye. So the thing with clothing, there's obviously a lot of cases where, yeah, it's there's no real difference in some of this.
Yeah.
In the clothing, you know, some of the t-shirts, some of the shorts, whatever. And I'm not one for bothering too much about brand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not one of those type of people who's like, oh, look what I'm wearing. You know, look at these off-white socks.
Look
I've
at
got.
these
Let
Yeezys.
me just pull these up. I've got Yeezys on.
I can't believe
You know,
that's a
look
name
at my
for a
Gucci
brand.
belt.
Only
I
reason
know.
I know about Gucci is fucking JoJo. It's like everything I know about modern things today is JoJo.
Pop culture.
Pop culture. How do you know this, Caden? JoJo. Why? He's like, oh, they had a collaboration. It's like, why the fuck did Gucci ever had a collaboration with fucking JoJo? What?
I know.
It's so weird.
I
Brands are just
guess
weird.
once if you're at a point where you're quite rich, you know, you're quite well.
Well, no.
Well, yeah. Then yeah, sure, you might just buy these like high brands, and I guess that's part of like what it is. You genuinely are buying the brand. You're
Yeah.
buying for what it is. You're buying it for the
Like
the
water.
reputation. You're buying it
Literally
for
water.
you're buying it for the clout, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're trying to be like, oh, I've got this type thing.
It's why whenever like a family member tells me like, "Oh, why are you going out looking like that?" It's like it's fucking comfortable. Fuck you. I don't go out to fucking impress. I go out to be good, to feel good.
Mm.
I ain't no clout chaser. What's that? You're in a pub wearing a jacket and a pair of shorts. Fuck you. It's my fashion statement.
I'm loosely like a brand does matter when it comes to shoes, but not entirely, because number one should be comfort. I feel like
100%.
number one should always be comfort. But at the same time, I'm like, I want a comfortable shoe that is of a style that I like, and so a lot of the time I'll obviously go towards certain brands.
Like, you can't trust my like design
Certain
choice, seeing
well-known
as I used
brands.
to wear fucking Velcro shoes. Because I couldn't be fucked tying fucking shoelaces.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wear shoelaced ones now. They look generally better as well. Also comfy. But aye, brands. Just
Yeah.
my last example of it would be like the only one that really matters to me is I have a specific shower gel that I use called
Mm-hmm.
Original Source, and it's lime and coconut. I noticed some lime and coconuts tend to get me to smell this way and feel as good. But there's something about Original Source lime and coconut that gets me feeling especially squeaky clean and smelling really nice.
Yeah. Gets you just right
I've
for the
never
day.
I've never felt right washing myself with like Lynx shower gel. It's just like I feel like I'm washing
Oh,
myself in like oil or like
I haven't
grease.
used Lynx in ages, man. Nah.
Even with deodorant, losing like fucking Africa. like
Lynx Africa for Christmas, is it?
there's a point where I even had like what was it, peach and vanilla shower gel. People are like, and there's not like a very like feminine shower gel. It's like fuck you. I like the smell of it. I want to smell like that. Fuck your masculinity, toxic masculinity. Fuck you.
If you haven't been gifted Lynx Africa, then
I think I've been gifted that once, and it was from my nan or my mum. She's like, I just wanted to give you deodorant. It's like
it's the go-to.
it's a
It's the
go-to.
go-to. For
Or as
things.
my ma gets me like the aftershave, or she likes to call it poof juice. I'm like, that's fucking. Why would you call it poof juice? What? The connotations might lead a few people astray, but finishes on brand difference matters unless
For yourself.
for myself.
I was gonna mention, right, because this is quite topical at the moment, with brand. So obviously, you get football shirts, right? And different clubs are they have different manufacturers, right? So a lot of the top brands for that is your Adidas, Nike, Puma.
Yeah.
You've got all these, and there's a recent thing going on with Rangers, right? And I think they just changed their brand, and I can't remember who it was they were with before, but they're now with a brand called Castor, right? And Castor is they're not known at all for making football kits, right? They're more known for like tennis clotheswear and whatnot. But they're still quite a popular brand aside.
Yeah.
But they signed a deal with Castor, and this is the first year in which they're making their kits. And the they put out the pre-orders, they announced the kit, put out the photos, and they put out the pre-orders so people can get it. And it turns out that half the kits are real and half the kits are from some like dodgy Turkish place. And it's because of Castor. I think they didn't. I don't know entirely all the fine details, but they essentially, I think they ran out of thingy, so they sort of panicked and they were like, "Oh, we need to quickly make more," because they had tons of sales, and there's tons of photos out as well, cutting about of the different versions of the kits. So you've got the proper one, the proper material, the proper everything, right? And that's from I think China. I think China's where they made the proper ones, and then you see the Turkish kits, and they look disgusting. They look horrible. So they've gone under a lot of fire for what they've done, and I think it makes a difference as well, like what football brand the tops are, because some of them are poor quality, and some of them get destroyed very easily. Like the sponsorship that's on the front, and like the badge, and all that stuff. It can come off easily if it's a pure brand. In comparison to like the top stuff.
Yeah.
There's Adidas's for me from the kits that I purchased. Well, no, they tend to last quite long. There's a lot of kits I have that last long, and there's other ones that just get destroyed so quickly. And it's like, well, that was crap.
I think the only like clothes I'd ever want, and they're not even branded, are like trench coats and stuff like that. I like my flat caps, so my general aesthetic is Scotsman of the night. I don't fucking know during the rain, but
But aye,
brand really does shatter folks.
I think that'll
generally
do us for the brand topic then.
Which brings us on to the last topic of what decade would you live during the prime of your life?
Oh. Do you want to go first?
I can go first. Mine is fairly simple. I could like give a hypothetical of how this would happen or whether I would be born in the decades before. So my prime of my life would be during this decade, which would be the 80s. It's like my favourite decade, my favourite aesthetic. There's general vibes. I really like the music. It's generally what my music taste was from age 15 to like 17. And it birthed my favourite movie of all time, being Transformers the movie. And so not much else I can go into it apart from like I feel like it was the decade that started leaning into it more of a liberal take. I think it was. Maybe I'm getting my history wrong, but like that's where things started to lead better into like how you have more black representation in films, better treatment for them. Obviously, not nearly as well treated as they are today, which is even not as great a treatment as they should be. But I feel like 80s was a great decade, for fairly simple reasons. And obviously, like the hypothetical would be, if I could time travel back for the best years of my life, it would be the 80s.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm like 18 or like the age beginning when I'm like 10 and end when I'm 20, and maybe try and travel back to the age I'm in now, or go for the 90s as well.
Mm.
But I generally wouldn't want to live. Maybe like the 70s. I wouldn't mind the 70s, but the 60s and before, I'd want to avoid. To be fair,
Uh,
yeah, mostly because I didn't like how people speak, their general
yeah,
dialect, and the
I get what you mean.
music, and that like. But
Every decade has its good parts and its bad parts, obviously.
yeah,
So
the
there's a
hairdos
bit
of the
of
80s.
oh boy, yeah. There's a bit of depends on what you're into. You know what I mean?
I think my answer is fairly simple. To be honest, like I think I just
Mm-hmm.
miss like the internet list things, like the blockbuster places, the
Oh
more
yeah.
like aesthetic. Like I do like I actually really like the diner aesthetic of the 50s and 60s. That's about it.
Aye.
I like the
Aye.
car looks and all that, but apart from that, that's it. But 80s, I think, is a
Mm-hmm.
generally great decade.
Yeah, and like even with Ragnarok, it kind of has that
80s
80s
vibes.
aesthetic. It's quite popular now. The 80s aesthetic. They sort
Oh, they're
of
really
have it
like
in
beating
like
that
these
in.
things. Stranger Things, big thing.
Yep.
You know.
Had a lot. It had like I
So
think
yeah,
eighties was like the
I think
surge
for a
of
lot
the
of people.
blockbuster action films as well.
Mm,
But
oh yeah,
that's my answer.
that's yours. Well, I've thought about this question before, so I've got a bit of a more in depth type
Yeah.
answer. So for me, I would like to be born in bang on 1950, right? So I would be turning legal drinking age, 18, in 1968. Now, there's a lot of things that I like about the 60s.
Mhm.
Because I'm obviously a very, very big music man. I'm into my music. So a lot of this decision is because of that, right? But even musically, like my top decade is the 70s. And that's why, like, if I was born in the 50s and I sort of grew up during like through the 60s, so that by the time I hit 18, it's 1968. You know, the Beatles are on top at that point, and yeah, I'd be going through the whole 70s. So yeah, the 70s is my pick. I'd be going through the whole 70s in my 20s, as in my prime, right? Yeah, so a lot of it's because of music, because there's a lot of bands that came about during that time that I would just love to see both live,
Yeah.
and I think that's what's quite good as well with turning 18, like 1968, like being still young but getting into your prime at that point, because you can catch the end of the Beatles, prime. You can catch the end of their time. You could maybe see them live. You know.
Yeah.
You'd be able to catch
Woodstock.
the very very famous Woodstock from '69. Yeah, I'd be able to catch Jimi Hendrix before he passes away in 1970.
Maybe you could prevent it. Time traveler. Oh, you
Well,
wouldn't know. This is
you wouldn't know.
experienceless. This is like a what
Yeah,
if.
this is a what if. You wouldn't have any clue about your current life as it is right now. You know,
It reminds
you'd be
me
just
of
going back and
the Family
doing
Guy
it like
joke
that.
where who's the bloke that was from Nirvana again?
Nirvana,
Kurt.
Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain, and the joke is Dewey stumbles across him in the bathroom, thinking about killing himself, and he just
Mm-hmm.
shows him like full fat Greek yogurt or something, and apparently that's what saves his life, but it causes him to become morbidly obese.
Oh my.
I'm just like, you just go to Jimi Hendrix and you just like talk to him, and then he sees like, what's that in your hand? And he's like, oh, it's
Yeah, it's
just
a Greek low fat yogurt.
no, Greek full fat yogurt. No,
Full fat
it's
yogurt.
like the opposite. Like you make him really skinny.
Oh my.
Oh no.
That's like butterfly effect at that point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, part of also why I picked the 70s was that, like, the thing is, I'm also mentioning like the growing up aspect.
Yeah.
But you'd be able to witness the best Brazil team that's ever been in terms of football, right? With Pele, because you'd be able to see Pele like during these times, and he obviously won the World Cup in 62, 66, and back on 1970. So you'd be able to see that as you're growing up. So like, because I grew up with football just now, obviously. So to be able to grow up with football
It's like
in this ideal decade life, you know, be able to grow up with football and see Pele while he's playing. Do you know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Something about that. So being able to see that, and there's a Celtic player, Jimmy Johnson, who was known as Jinky. He was about during the 60s and 70s. Well, I think he left or retired about 75. So also being able to see him, he's an absolute legend for that club. Part of the Lisbon Lions. But yeah, being able to see that, being able to see the rise and fall of Muhammad Ali, you know, stuff like that. Being able to witness all these things happen would be just magic, I think.
Yeah.
Because I'm quite into boxing. You know, there's a lot of times I'll watch some Muhammad Ali stuff or some Mike Tyson stuff. You know, the popular, the big fights and whatnot. So just being able to see all of that stuff, you know, and going through the 70s, seeing all these amazing bands come about, and of course, I'd be going to like all these gigs. I'd be going to all these festivals. I'd be like, fuck yeah, you know.
But if this is the same
I
scenario
just
in
think that'd be
which
great.
you didn't have any experience when you're just being born here and you're
Mm-hmm.
new, is the hypothetical of what if you go along the timeline of not getting into music, or you're not as heavily into music as you were before
Yeah,
then.
there's that whole thing.
Because there's you could say a lot, like I'd go to here, I'd go to this one, I'd go to that. It depends on your money, it depends on your like obviously in the perfect what if scenario that you would do that. But there's a very likely chance that we both wouldn't get what we wanted if we were born
That's the
during
thing.
those eras.
In the 70s, ABBA was very popular, and so was like roller skating and all that, and discos and stuff. And it'd be fun. I think that'd be hella fun to experience, you know, especially back then. But can you imagine in this alternate life, I just become a roller skate master, just going to like all the disco clubs, giving it beans, giving it absolute yaldi. Aye. But
aye.
yeah, just that, I think.
Yeah.
And that's before as well. That's all before mobile phones were like
Yeah, before the
popular. No
internet.
internet, you
Um,
know. Before Margaret Thatcher, although Thatcher came into power in '79,
yeah.
so she was about in the '80s. I had to avoid that.
You were born in the 50s, you'd have been born before Spider-Man. But just after Batman. So you're in the good median.
Yeah.
Making
But
1953 make an even 10 years before and after. If I'm getting the years right, but I think that wraps us up.
yeah, that wraps us up. That's my choice of decade.
Well, with that, I thank you for listening to us, or watching if you're of our YouTube audience, looking at a still frame, and there's some police on the way to arrest me for the absolute shite part I've had this
Yeah, we
episode.
gotta go. We gotta
We
go.
gotta go. Sayonara, my dudes.
Goodbye.